Michael King or Reese Olson in the final week of the season? Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Thursday, September 21st. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Chris, the Welsh. Let's talk about those two massive pitching performances. Michael King with the best start of his young career up against the Blue Jays. 7 innings of one-run ball, 13 strikeouts, 16 swinging strikes on a career-high 101 pitches, 50% rostered. Looks like he is at Toronto and at the Royals in the final week of the season. The other one, Reese Olson, has turned in 4 straight quality starts. He was at the Dodgers, 6 innings, 1 run allowed, 5 strikeouts with 11 swinging strikes. This guy has crazy movement on all of his pitches. He's got great secondary options as well. He is 33% rostered, home against the Royals and home against the Guardians next week. Welsh, who would you rather have, Michael King or Reese Olson?
It's a tough matchup because we like Olson's matchup a little bit better. You mentioned the spin. It's almost 3,000 RPM on the slider, almost 2,800 on the curve. Big spin numbers, but it doesn't quite equate to like elite strikeout numbers like we've seen out of Michael King. Michael King has 2+ pitches of 40 or higher on the whiff percentage that he uses double-digit percentage of the time. His sweeper and his changeup, the fastball has been pretty dang good, even though the batting average against has been a little bit higher. It's the secondaries that have made him good, and he has had 6 straight appearances where they have a combined 4 earned runs for Michael King. Reese Olson's been great. I'm Michael King because Michael King also represents that extra little push I'm looking for with the strikeout numbers, those big elite strikeout numbers. I think he's had 8+ in 3 straight starts as well. I'm going to ride it out to the rest of the season with Michael King just edging out Reese Olson. Even though the matchups are a little bit better for Olson, give me Michael King.
The answer is honestly both. If you can find a way to get both of these guys in your lineup for next week, I think that's totally fine. But if you can only choose one, I agree with you. I think I would go with Michael King. On yesterday's podcast, Scott and I spoke about Ryan Pepiot, who's pitched very well recently. The schedule is still kind of up in the air. We don't know if he's going to pitch 2 times next week or just once. We also spoke about Kenta Maeda, who looks like a 2-star pitcher against Oakland and at the Colorado Rockies. Welsh, how would you rank those 4, just the final week of the season? Michael King, Reese Olson, Ryan Pepiot, and Kenta Maeda.
Okay, and this is, we're assuming Pepiot's got 2 starts. We're going to pretend? Playing pretend land for that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so in pretend land like that, Michael King is actually my guy. And I don't think you are going to agree with me on this. I think you're a Pepiot guy in this. But Michael King is going to be my guy with those big strikeouts. Pepiot's going to come in at number 2. I kind of don't think he's going to have those 2 starts. But I actually think it's a fun and interesting argument of 1 good start for Pepiot next week versus 2 on Reese Olson. He'll come in at number 3. And Maeda would be fun. It's just that last Colorado one gives me just shaky, itchy, scared vibes for the literal last point of my season. So he's going to be at the bottom of the list. Michael King is going to be the conductor of that train.
Yeah, so if we know Ryan Pepiot for certain is making 2 starts, I would put him at the top and then Michael King and then Reese Olson and followed up by Kenta Maeda. If it looks like Pepiot's only going to pitch once, I would put King first, I would put Reese Olson second, then I would go with Pepiot, Kenta Maeda there on the bottom of the list. But I do think all 4 are perfectly fine options for the final week of the season. Let's talk about one other big pitching performance from Wednesday, Hunter Greene. This dude really likes the month of September. 7 innings, 1 run, 14 strikeouts with 17 swinging strikes up against the Reds. Of course, it's worth mentioning the Reds have a historically high strikeout rate this season, and obviously Hunter Greene took advantage of that. But he has now made 3 starts since returning from the IL. He's got a 1.93 ERA, a .75 whip. Remember last year, final 4 starts after returning from injury in the month of September, a .78 ERA and a .83 whip. Hunter Greene just really likes September. I don't know the matchup right now. It's kind of up in the air. He's either at the Cardinals or at the Guardians next week. Frankly, I don't think it matters, Welsh. I think if you have Hunter Greene, you trust him in that final week.
Yeah, you find as best trust as you can. It's a 2-start pitcher, and there's a little bit more volatility in those. And also, Hunter Greene has been kind of inconsistent. We had a really good discussion on the main podcast about him in comparison to a guy like Spencer Strider, who is kind of the king of the 2-pitch pitchers. I worry about the inconsistencies, But to what you're saying, Hunter Greene is ending out hot. He did this last year. He's a massive strikeout option, and both of those matchups don't scare me enough that I would take him off. Let me ask you, though, real quick. Would you take the 1 Hunter Greene against, let's say, the Guardians, or would you take 2 on Michael King?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would take Michael King, and I think I would take 2 starts from Ryan Pepio. But other than that, I think Hunter Greene is probably second, or I guess maybe third on that list, depending on Pepio. But it's a good question. And all of these guys are pitching really well right now. We like them all for the final week of the season. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.